This past weekend started just like any other lazy Saturday. I slept in a little and rolled over to kiss my wife of 17 years good morning. She groaned and muttered, "Dakota, let me sleep. I cannot get any peace, not at night, not in the morning. And the girls are probably already up." I chuckled. "You are right. They are old enough now. They will not barge in." With that, I threw on my robe and headed for the shower. As I passed by Nita's room, I heard a scuffle, my younger daughter, Ayasha, trying to drag her sister out of bed. I figured they could handle each other. After getting cleaned up and dressed, I made my way into the kitchen. The girls were already sitting at the table, both looking hungry and a little impatient. Nita asked, "Are we having breakfast today, or what? We still have school, you know." I smiled. "What? No. Remember? It is New Year's break. You are going to stay with your grandma." Nita frowned. "I thought we were going skiing." "That was Mom's idea." "Yeah," I said, "but things change. How about you make your own breakfast today?" I offered. Ayasha piped up. "We would, but Mom says we will ruin her pans or burn everything. The only thing she lets us make is scrambled eggs." "Well," I said, "what about oatmeal? Or semolina porridge like they eat in England?" "Oatmeal, please." Nita grinned. "But make sure there are no lumps." "You got it. Oatmeal it is," I said. "Now go wash your faces and brush those teeth. Breakfast will be ready in 15. I got to work in the kitchen while my daughters ran off. A few minutes later, Awan, my wife, emerged from the bedroom, passing by the bathroom before joining us at the table. She wore one of my old shirts and still, somehow, even after all these years, looked as beautiful as ever, even if things between us had been tense lately. She sat down and looked at the girls. "Finish your breakfast and get ready. Your dad will take you to your grandmother's." Nita looked hurt. "Mom, you promised we were going to the ski lodge this week. We already packed our gear. We were really looking forward to celebrating New Year's Eve together." Alwan gave her a flat look. "Sometimes we do not get what we want. Maybe we will go skiing in the spring, or maybe we will head to the Palmer Range. They have snow year-round in the mountains." I was not happy about this change of plans, especially since Alwan had told the girls we were going skiing. But more than that, I was uneasy about the timing. Ever since a man named David joined her company as the new commercial director, someone she had known from her university days, things between us had started to feel off. She never even mentioned knowing him until he showed up at her office. That silence alone raised red flags. I thought about confronting him, but decided it would only make things worse between me and Alwan. I told myself it was just old classmates catching up. Still, I watched carefully. To my knowledge, there had been nothing serious, just harmless flirting. But her decision to send the girls away for New Year's? That told me something was brewing. I was ready. In fact, I had prepared. Earlier that morning, I had quietly slipped into the bathroom, switched on a small audio recorder, and slipped it into my pocket. Awan sat silently at the kitchen table for a moment before finally looking up. She gave me a half-smile that disappeared just as quickly. "Dakota," she said, "we need to talk." I knew from her tone this would not be a conversation I wanted to have. "Is something wrong?" I asked, keeping my voice calm. "Nothing's wrong," she said. "I love you. I have loved you for a long time. You are a great husband and a great father. I want us to grow old together. Maybe even die on the same day. Then what is stopping us?" I asked, feeling the weight in my chest already building. "I have been thinking. I believe we need a little break, a chance to experience life separately for a bit. That way, when we come back together, we will be stronger, more balanced." I raised an eyebrow. "How long are we talking here? A month? A year?" "Just for the long holiday weekend," she said. "Nothing more." "So that is why the girls are going to your mom's instead of the ski trip?" I asked. "Yes," she confirmed. "It was all planned. And let me guess, you and your friend David came up with this theory to convince me to approve a harmless weekend fling?" She blinked, taken aback, but kept her cool. "I did not know what you were talking about. I have no idea why you are reacting this way." "Really?" I said. "You expect me to believe this is just about self-growth? That you and I will just magically reconnect after your weekend away with him?" She looked me in the eye. "Yes, it is selfish, but I have my reasons. You may not understand now, but someday you will." I shook my head. "You don't even know what I know, do you? It is David, your new director. You had an affair with him in college. He dumped you. You moved on to me right after that. Now he is back in your life and suddenly you want a trial separation. You are wrong. Nothing has changed," she insisted. "Everything's changed," I said. "The way you treat me. The way you act around the girls. All of it. I love you, she said again. You are imagining things. I'm not, I replied. And you can explain your little theory to our daughters and to my parents when you try to explain why we are getting a divorce. Divorce, she echoed. Dakota, you are overreacting. This is just a phase. I told you, we will talk about it when I get back. I stood my ground. We are not talking. I am leaving. For good. You can't do this to me, she cried. I can. And I will, I said. You made your choice. I'm making mine. At that moment, Nita walked into the room. Dad, we are ready to go. I will be there in 5 minutes, I told her. I grabbed my laptop, slung my bag over my shoulder, and walked out the door without saying another word. I started the car and let it warm up. The girls climbed in quietly. As I pulled away, I glanced in the rearview mirror and saw Awan staring out the window, her expression blank. We drove for a while in silence until Nita asked, Dad? Grandma lives the other way. I know, I said. But we are going to the ski lodge like I promised. We will figure out where to stay when we get there. Dad, are you and Mom getting divorced? She asked, her voice trembling. Why would you say that? I asked. We heard you arguing in the kitchen. We are on your side, said Ayesha quietly. I'm on Dad's side too, Nita added. But where will we live? We will stay at Grandma's house for now. I will take you to school to grab some of your things. But for now, let us try to enjoy this trip. You girls deserve that. Back at the house, Awan stood frozen at the window, watching us disappear down the street. After a moment, she reached for her phone and dialed. David picked up immediately. Emma? What's going on? We have a problem, she said. Is he gone? He left a little while ago. He is probably just heading to the store. Or maybe dropping the kids off. Did he believe what you told him? David asked. No, she admitted. He didn't buy any of it. He said he is filing for divorce. That's bad, David replied. We cannot have this blowing up. If word spreads at work, Mia will hear, and it will reach upper management. You never wanted to leave your wife, did you? She asked quietly. What are you going to do now? He asked instead. He still has to drop the girls off. Then he will probably come back. Then tell him it's off. Say you changed your mind about the separation. We need to let his anger cool down, or this could blow up in our faces. I already told him. But he said I was only trying to manipulate him. When will he be home? In 3 or 4 hours. Then keep calm, David said. Keep him calm. And whatever you do, do not let this reach the office. Awan hung up, feeling a little more confident with David's backing. She decided to make the evening look like nothing unusual. She cleaned up, threw on something casual, and left to pick up takeout from a nearby cafe. She also bought a bottle of wine, set out 2 glasses, and lit a few candles. Then she turned on the television, curled up in the armchair, and waited. She sat alone that evening, thinking about everything that had unraveled. Awan began to wonder if her brief fling with an old flame had truly been worth jeopardizing the family we built together. She knew convincing me to go along with her weekend separation was going to be nearly impossible now. And deep down, I believe she knew I had figured out more than she had intended me to know. Maybe telling me that her old college friend, David, had reappeared and become her boss had been a misstep. But either way, I would have found out. His sudden return into her life stirred something in her, a pull she had not expected. That much was clear. It started as a harmless reconnection. Their first private conversation had gone something like this. Awan, he told her, I always liked you, but I am not going to destroy my life for this. We can stay in contact, but only in secret. You are married. I am married. We need to keep this quiet. They thought their little plan was well thought out, even intellectual, something backed by logic and psychology. But real life is not a research paper. They forgot one thing. People are not theories. For hours passed, and I still had not returned. She was starting to worry. She called her mother. Her mother answered after a delay. Hi, sweetheart. How are you? It gets dark early this time of year. We are just sitting here with your father, arguing a bit. Arguing about what? Awan asked. Oh, the usual. He wanted a drink. I told him no. But he found the bottle I hid, her mom replied. What about you? When are you bringing the girls? That is when Awan realized I had not dropped them off like I had said I would. Next, she called my parents. My father, a retired army man, picked up. Awan, what is going on? Looking for Dakota and the girls, I assume. I just wanted to check in and see how you were doing, she said, trying to stay casual. Cut the act, he said, his voice flat. He called us. Told us about the divorce. That is not true. We had a disagreement, but we are not getting divorced, she insisted. He told us everything, my father replied. This is not just about the two of you. He said it had to do with some man from your office. You wanted a break. He said you agreed to cancel it, but still wanted to talk about it later. Is that true? I just want to fix this, she said, her voice trembling. You should have thought about that before, my dad snapped. If you are in love with someone else, do not destroy more lives. Just walk away. My son will be fine. He is not old. He is not broken. And those girls? They will be better off with someone honest. There is not going to be a divorce, she whispered. That is what you say. But I know my son better than you do. And it sounds like you barely know him at all. After hanging up, Awan tried calling David. But another voice answered, a woman's. Hello. I am looking for David. This is Awan, his coworker. Oh, I know exactly who you are, the woman snapped. I threw him out. Do not bother calling again. He has no phone. What happened? Awan asked, now rattled. You don't know, the woman said bitterly. We have moved cities twice because of that cheating liar. He tried to hook up with every woman at work, including you. Maybe he is at your house now. I do not care. He does not know where I live. Why would he be here? He knows your address. He works with you. He had plans to meet all of you while I was away. Meanwhile, I was driving up into the mountains with my daughters. I had decided to take them to a ski lodge I was familiar with, one managed by John, an old college friend of mine. I called him on the road. John, can you help me out? Anything for you, Dakota. Got a small cabin available. Perfect for you and the girls. One more thing, I said. If anyone calls, don't tell them I'm here. No problem, John replied. When are you arriving? About an hour and a half. Roads are slick. All right. Tell the gate guard you're here to see me. We arrived at the lodge as the sun dipped low. I pulled into the covered parking area, and we took our bags inside. John greeted us at the dining table. Hurry up, food's getting cold, he said with a grin. Let my girls freshen up and explore a bit, I replied. Nita and Ayasha took off upstairs to settle in. They were wearing tracksuits already and happy with the room. John and I sat down. Where's Awan? He asked. That's a long story, I said. Let's toast instead. We poured drinks and shared memories, though every so often the girls would pop in with questions. At one point, Ayasha asked about the dance party happening down the hall. We did not bring anything fancy to wear, she said. No dress code, John smiled. Go as you are. A few minutes later, one of the lodge's staff came to escort the girls to the dance. Once they left, John turned serious. So what happened? Why the divorce? Remember those rumors about Awan back when you were dating her? I asked. Sure, he said. But I always thought they were just talk. Well, turns out David, an old classmate of hers, resurfaced as her new boss. They struck up an emotional thing behind my back. The whole separation she suggested was just cover for a weekend fling. But it backfired. His wife, Mia, found out. She told me everything. Wow, John muttered. That's cold. She said it was to strengthen our marriage as we aged. I told her that was nonsense. I have had enough. I am filing for divorce. What's your next move? He asked. There's a law firm in town. A few lawyers are coming up here tomorrow. One of them specializes in family law. The girls got back around 11. A lodge employee had walked them back. I fixed them a light supper. We sat together and talked. Later that night, when they went to bed, I stayed up alone, replaying the audio recording from earlier that day. Every word confirmed I was doing the right thing. Back home, Awan had no clue where I had taken the girls. She checked my usual computer, looking for recent searches. Nothing. She could not track me. The next morning, I was awakened by cheerful voices. Daddy, let's go have breakfast and then go skiing. There's an ice rink here too, Ayasha added. There sure is, I said, smiling. We ate at the cafe and got changed into our gear. After renting skis and riding the lift, we skied until lunch. At the cafe, we ran into John and his wife. He told me the law firm had arrived. One lawyer, Anna, specialized in divorce. I met her in John's office, where she explained the legal landscape. Be careful about claiming the apartment, she said. Someday your girls will be grown. If you stay there now and remarry later, it could become complicated. I can't imagine living with her again, I admitted. Then propose a split. Serve her papers. Keep it calm. When can you prepare the documents? I have my laptop. We can start today, she replied. I hired her on the spot. That night, we celebrated New Year's Eve in the lodge's big hall. John, his wife, her sister, and a few attorneys joined us. The place was packed with other travelers. Music played, people danced, and for the first time in a long while, I felt at peace. It was the early hours of the morning when I returned to our cabin at the ski lodge, carrying my daughters in my arms, both completely wiped out from a full day of skiing, ice skating, and dancing. After tucking them in, I headed back to where the remaining guests were still gathered around the fire. When the celebration finally wrapped up, everyone slowly returned to their own rooms, and I followed suit, exhausted but strangely lighter inside. The next few days rolled by smoothly. We hit the slopes in the morning, went ice skating in the afternoons, and let the girls join in the lodge's evening dance events. One night, as we were finishing dinner in the main hall, my old friend John leaned in and asked, "How are you holding up, Dakota?" I did not lie to him. You know, during the day I keep it together for the girls. But at night, I have cried more in the last week than I have in years. That said, today, I feel like I am finally ready for what comes next. Soon enough, it was time to pack up and return home. On the drive back, I talked to Nita and Ayasha about how important it was to keep our apartment. It was more than a place to live. It was part of our stability now. We stopped by a shopping center to grab groceries and arrived home just as the sun went down. As soon as we got inside, Nita and Ayasha started rearranging their rooms. Ayasha moved her things into her sister's room so they could share it. Awan walked in mid-move, her eyes narrowing with suspicion. "What is going on here?" she asked. "We're turning my old room into Dad's room," Ayasha explained. "We're going to share now." "That's what Dad said," Nita added firmly. Awan stood there without saying much. The girls, clearly uninterested in arguing, went back to organizing their space while I started prepping dinner and made breakfast ahead of time for the next morning. Then Awan came into the kitchen, trying to make conversation. "Just so we're clear," she said, "I won't accept any girlfriends in the house. You can see whoever you want, but not here." I looked at her and replied calmly, "That is not going to be a problem. But just so you know, I'm filing for divorce." She looked startled. A few minutes later, she entered the girls' room and asked if they wanted to talk. Nita responded plainly, "We didn't miss you. Dad told us to give you space this week." Awan's face fell. I said nothing. From that point on, the girls and I functioned as our own small unit in the home. We locked the doors to our bedrooms, I cooked for the three of us, and we ignored her presence entirely. That Friday evening, a courier arrived. A young woman handed Awan a registered envelope. It was a formal court summons, along with my petition for divorce. Awan ripped it open, read the contents, and came storming into the kitchen, eyes full of tears. "Dakota, why are you doing this?" she cried. "I thought we could fix things." "Talk to your lawyer," I said flatly, continuing to stir the pot on the stove. "I have no one," she whispered. "David is gone. Maybe you should call him for advice," I suggested, unmoved. The girls had already eaten and disappeared into their room without acknowledging her. She stood there, pleading, talking about how much she loved me and the children. But for me, that love had been permanently fractured. What does love have to do with it? I finally snapped. "I did love you. I was loyal to you. But that was before I found out you were sneaking around with David, your old college boyfriend. A man you never even had the decency to mention. And now you expect me to believe this was all for some deep philosophical reason." She tried to speak, but I cut her off. "Go ahead. Tell me, what were you planning for that weekend? Enlighten me with one of your sociological theories." When I finished eating, I cleared the table. The sound of plates clinking must have drawn Nita into the kitchen. "Want me to help?" she asked. "Thanks, sweetheart. But go upstairs and tidy up your room. I will handle the dishes and iron your clothes for tomorrow." Once I was alone again, Awan reappeared. She sat quietly in the kitchen, the lights dim. I found her there later, still waiting for me. "Dakota," she began. "I did not plan for any of this to happen. David and I used to see each other back in school, but no one really knew. He left me without warning. Years passed. Then he showed up at my office as the new director. At first, it was just work. Then one day he asked me to lunch. That was all it was, at first." She paused before continuing. "He said we had to be discreet, no risky meetings. I went along with it because I thought it would be a one-time thing. I never expected it to go this far." "So you invented that little temporary separation nonsense to cover for a date?" I asked, my voice low and cold. "Yes, but it's not because I wanted to leave you. It's been a long time since you complimented me. My looks, my hair, My clothes. I scoffed. So the first man who flatters you and suddenly you're in his bed? Over the next few days, I began preparing for a meeting with child welfare officials. My attorney, Anna, explained how important their report would be in court. The children's voices would also be taken seriously. I barely slept at night. I kept going over every conversation in my head. Love, trust, betrayal. One night, Alwan approached me again. For the sake of our children, we should try to save this marriage. No, I replied firmly. The girls need to know they are loved by both of us. But they also need to see that love does not mean accepting betrayal. They are old enough to know what happened. I never poisoned them against you. They heard you themselves, remember? That whole plan for a healing weekend? I just want them to forgive me, she whispered. You have a degree in sociology, I said. And yet you seem to forget that teenagers are going through enormous emotional and biological changes. Rebuilding trust with them is not going to be easy. In the weeks that followed, Alwan tried again and again to mend the damage, especially with the girls, but they kept their distance. Eventually, the court summoned us for an initial hearing. We were given a mandatory period to attempt reconciliation. When that period ended, I met with her to finalize custody. I proposed that Nita and Anasha live with me full-time. I won't sign that, she said defiantly. Then I will take it to court, I replied. They will talk to the girls. The court will decide, and I can promise you, it will not go your way. You cannot know that, she said, trying to stay firm. You're right, I said. But good luck appealing if it doesn't. Alwan looked completely broken. I know I made a mistake. A horrible one. But I still love you. I will never see David again. Please believe that. Oh, so you are replacing him now? I said, my voice sharp. I am sure that will go great. You're the sociologist, figure it out. I told her the agreement would need to be notarized. There would be no more private talks. I was done. By the time the court's reconciliation deadline came and went, Alwan had become desperate. She tried connecting with the girls, but they would not even respond. After school, they would attend computer classes, come home, have a snack, do their homework, and join me in the kitchen while I cooked dinner and planned the next day's meals. Then one day, child services arrived. They spoke to Nita and Ayasha, examined their living space, and put together their report. The next morning, we went to court. I was there with my lawyer. Alwan showed up alone, without an attorney, but admitted she had received guidance from a counselor and a few friends who had also gone through divorces. By the time we stood in that courtroom, the truth was undeniable. There was no saving what Alwan and I once had. As the judge questioned her, she responded with quiet, short answers. Just yes or no. No drama. No stories. Just the silence of finality. Near the end of the hearing, Alwan stood and addressed the court. She said she was officially giving up her share of our apartment, transferring her rights to our daughters. She handed over a deed of gift to back it up. The judge acknowledged that she had already moved her personal belongings and gave her a week to clear the rest. Alwan then asked for a short recess so she could sign the child support documents I had filed. After the break, she returned and added something unexpected. I am willing to pay support to Dakota voluntarily, she said. I know the court might not rule in my favor, and I want to do the right thing. To keep everything transparent, I proposed that she open a separate bank account for each of the girls. All payments would go directly into those accounts. That money would be theirs when they came of age. The judge clarified that spousal support and property division were not part of our original filing, so they would not be addressed at that time. Only child support and the divorce itself would be finalized. With that, court was adjourned. We walked out, no longer husband and wife. Outside, Nita and Ayasha were sitting on a bench near the bus stop. It was cold, deep winter, and they were happily eating ice cream, unfazed by the chill. What are you two doing? I asked, surprised. It's freezing. They just grinned. We brought the ice cream home from the store. And you can eat ice cream in the winter. It even helps your throat sometimes. I smiled. Logical as ever, those two. By the way, I asked, why did you choose age 19 as the point where you can access the money in those accounts? That's just what we agreed on, Nita said with a shrug. Alwan kept her word. She left the apartment and moved in with her parents to care for her mother, who had fallen seriously ill. I allowed her to visit the girls once a week. At first, Nita and Ayasha were unsure about it, but I encouraged them to keep an open heart. When she visited, it was always at our place. She would spend a little time with the girls, and I would keep my distance. We were no longer a couple, not even friends. I treated her respectfully for the girls' sake, but there was no warmth left between us. Time passed. On New Year's Eve, I took the girls, now older and more independent, back to the ski lodge. We had started going every year. It became our tradition. Often, John's wife's sister, Zoe, joined us. Over time, something started to develop between Zoe and me. We never rushed anything. She had never had children, but she bonded with Nida and Ayasha surprisingly well, even if the girls were a little hesitant at first. My heart was focused on my daughters. I raised them with care, with honesty, and as much stability as I could offer. Seeing them thrive gave me peace. And Zoe? Her presence slowly helped bring a bit of warmth back into the house. As for Awan, life got harder. She lost both of her parents that year. I attended the funerals, helped with arrangements, grieved with her, but that did not mean we found our way back to each other. The pain we had shared had become a wall between us, not a bridge. She stayed in her parents' old home, raising the girls from afar. That became her world, her daughters, and not much else. Eventually, she began seeing a widower who lived on the same street. He was kind, lonely, and needed someone, just like she did. And David? He never came back. Even Mia, his ex-wife, had no idea where he had gone. She had remarried not long after their split, choosing to close that chapter entirely. As for me, I moved on not out of bitterness, but out of love for my girls and a quiet hope for the future. I had lost a marriage, but I had kept my dignity, my daughters, and maybe even found something new worth holding on to.